Erectile dysfunction, medical grade, FDA registered therapy in the privacy and comfort of your home without embarrassment and a fraction of the cost. This is Orris, the official old guy at www.oldguytalks.com, here to introduce my interview with Dustin Wolf, the co-inventor of the rocket. Now, this device does the same therapy you hear about on the radio, the shock wave or sonic wave. I have no idea why they call it shock wave. There's nothing shocking about it. But this therapy has been around for years and available only in doctor's offices at a cost of $2,000, $3,000 and more, which is cost prohibitive for many men. But now you can get it in the comfort of your home for a fraction of the cost. And they even provide payments. That's right, they even provide payments so you can afford this therapy. Now, what are you going to wait for? Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't procrastinate. Put in your name and email and get some information, or order it. Why are you wait? Why would you wait? Do it now and watch my interview with Dustin. This is Orris, the old guy from www.oldguytalks.com, helping older guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. Here are my special guest today, Dustin Wolf from Novus in Studio City, California. It's a regenerative center where he helps both men and women, well, have a kick-ass life. And
right.
We're going to talk today about something new that he's got going on, and it's actually quite remarkable, and it's going to do something that's going to really change the landscape of treating erectile dysfunction. And but before I do that, Sue, the IP lawyer, wants me to read this, and she would not have written it this way, but she says this works, Orris. This is information only. Consult with an appropriate professional before starting any program. Do not be stupid. You are responsible for your own shit. The old guy is a capitalist and not a socialist weasel. He will be promoting stuff here and may be compensated. Damn right, he's going to be compensated if he's promoting. You could rest assured that the old guy only promotes stuff that he uses or believes in, and you will have different results. We all have different results no matter what it is, but we do. So in the house today, I have Dustin Wolf, and he is the president of Novus Regenerative Medicine Centers in Studio City. And he's got kind of an interesting path here. He's been a partner and invented a new device. So we're going to talk about that later, about at-home regenerative therapy to treat your erectile dysfunction. And all that stuff that you hear on the radio and the ads and the internet and on TV and all that stuff, well, some of this is you can do at home here with the device that we're going to be talking about. He practices along with his wife, and they have the largest regenerative medicine anti-aging clinic in the United States that treats with erectile dysfunction. Is that correct?
That treats erectile dysfunction. That's correct. Yeah. In terms
right.
of volumes and treatments. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second, but that's
Sure.
the truth.
Yeah. And he's a biohacking guru and co-founder of the company and co-inventor of this device. So Dustin, welcome to OldGuyTalks.com.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about yourself and how no one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be an ED expert.
Right.
I want to be a fireman. I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
But no one says,
of course.
I want to be an ED expert. How'd you end up there?
Well, first of all, Orris, thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm super excited. I've been looking forward to this since last week. And it's a very interesting story with a lot of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, and highs and lows. My background is, I went into the Air Force right out of school, served my country. I did 4 years in the United States Air Force, which I'm very proud of. Yep, you're very welcome. And came out of that as still a young man at 22 years old. Much more mature guy, but still, was looking for some direction in life and what I wanted to do. And I've done all kinds of things, just like we all have. And I've shifted gears into several different, careers over the years. But, I've always had a fascination with the human body. And I've always been into, I was biohacking before biohacking was even a thing, and some of your audience probably knows what that is, but you know, the Ben Greenfields and these guys out there in the world, they're really known, and their brand is really biohacking. The Dave Asprey's from, you know, Bulletproof, from the Bulletproof brand.
Right.
I was doing this kind of stuff along with these guys probably 20 years ago, you know, as a kid, and just experimenting with different types of natural therapies and modalities and ways to kind of trick the body to do things that you wanted it to do naturally. So I've always been into the biohacking movement ever since before it was even a thing. But, you know, if you fast forward about 15 years, about 5 years ago, my amazing and incredible wife, Stephanie, and I decided to start our own medical clinic with an emphasis on regenerative medicine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And part of that I'll talk about in a minute is biohacking as well. So emphasis on regenerative medicine. What does that mean? That's, you know, using and leveraging all natural modalities and products to elicit a certain response in the body that you want to happen, right? Whether it's healing or better sleep or, you know, all these things. So we kind of, I don't want to say fell into this, you know, shockwave thing by accident, but we do a ton of LIST, which is known as low intensity shockwave therapy, for your audience that doesn't know what that is. And it's not an electrical shock, it's a sound wave. So in the medical field, LIST is known as low intensity shockwave therapy. And what that is it's a device that emits a sound wave or a shock wave that penetrates the soft tissue on the body, pretty much anywhere on the body, for purposes of regenerating that tissue, restoring blood flow, cleaning out any breaking up any scar tissue, and removing blockages or plaque or microplaque, right? So we got into this about 4 years ago doing shockwave therapy here in the clinic, and we got really, 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 really good at it. And we are, you know, we're in a good market here for this because it is very expensive. We'll just talk about more in a minute. But this is Los Angeles, you know, there's a lot of disposable income here, but it's still very expensive. So we adopted these protocols. I should throw out there that we started Novus about 5 years ago, literally in our living room. You hear about these stories about, you know, Bill Gates started Microsoft in his garage, and, you know, like that stuff really happens. My wife and I started Novus in our living room, and we were doing, this is kind of sketchy. We were doing IVs, like nutritional and vitamin IVs, which you've heard of, right? Like,
right.
Oh, the hangover IV, or go get the Myers cocktail. Been around for decades, right?
I'm in Las Vegas, and they have a bus.
Yeah, that goes around, right? And you get on the bus because you're hungover in the morning. You go get a hangover IV. You know, it's so interesting. We started doing those in our living room, right? We connected with some amazing pharmacies who had these awesome protocols with just doing vitamin IVs, right? Nothing crazy. We weren't curing cancer or anything, but just doing health and nutritional IVs, which again, I was fascinated by because it was all natural. And we started this in our living room 5 years ago, and that's what it started out as. And that turned into hormone optimization for men and women, right? That turned into stem cells and exosomes, which also in parallel ran along with this incredible technology that's actually been around for 20 plus years in Europe. It's widely used, low intensity shockwave therapy, which you're familiar with. And what happened was we started getting such, we eventually obviously moved out of our living room. We kind of outgrew that and it got a little weird. You know, it started looking like a drug dealer's house or whatever. So we were like,
neighbors started complaining, the police came over.
Yeah, it was weird. There was no parking on the street, and my kids are coming home from school. You know, they're like, what is this? You know, started looking like a methadone clinic. So even though we were doing good things, it was time to move. The business was growing, which is great. So, we eventually found a location, which we're still at today. We've expanded in some other suites and remodeled and done a lot of things. But by far and away, most of what we do is shockwave therapy. And we do couple that with stem cells, exosomes, and PRP and some other stuff, which is a different conversation. But for this, it is a technology that we did not invent. It's a technology that has been around for decades. Like I said, there are hundreds of clinical studies showing that this type of technology is safe and effective, right? And you're under the supervision of a clinician or a doctor administering these treatments, and they're done all over the body. It originally started for soft tissue repair in the feet. So podiatrists were using it a lot to break up, scar tissue and increase blood flow to patients that had plantar fasciitis, right? And the device that's primarily used across the globe to administer this treatment That's what it's used for, and that's what it's cleared for, even though many clinics, including ourselves, use it off-label. And you all know what off-label is.
Exactly.
So we use it off-label for the treatment of erectile dysfunction and Peyronie's disease, right? Which is a curvature in the shaft, which is painful and embarrassing for some people.
Yeah, that was one thing I was not familiar that this was useful in Peyronie's disease.
It's incredibly useful. Yeah. And what it does is it not only promotes blood flow, but it breaks up scar tissue. Most guys that develop Peyronie's disease, which is again a curvature in the shaft one way or another, or some type of plaque buildup. You don't have to have a curvature in the shaft to have Peyronie's, by the way. You can develop scar tissue and plaque buildup, which will cause Peyronie's pain when you're having an erection or intercourse. But this absolutely does treat it, and it's very, very effective. Again, by the sound waves penetrating the tissue and breaking up that scar tissue. Most of Peyronie's patients develop it due to some type of sexual accident. They were getting a little freaky. Girlfriends or wives or partners are getting a little crazy. And you hear the term like, I broke it. And that absolutely does happen. Quick little side note. We see a ton of patients here. We do like 20, 25 shockwave treatments a day, which by far and away is the largest in terms of volume in the country. We're very good at what we do. We have patients flying from all over the country and all over the world to come see us. But we have a kid. We don't talk about names here, but we have a kid coming to us right now for treatment. A poor kid. He's 18 years old, 17 years old. He fractured his penis. And now here he is, scared to death to get an erection because it hurts so bad. Forget sex. Yeah, the poor kid. I feel so bad for him. Like, I got tons and tons of stories like this, but this poor kid, he's scared. He forgets sex. He doesn't even want to have sex anymore. He's just terrified to even get an erection because it hurts so bad. So we're working with him to break up the scar tissue and help him straighten things out, if you will. So, and it is very effective and it's working for him. So along with that, it's coming back his confidence and him wanting to kind of, get out there and experiment a little more, but being safe. So, LIST absolutely does treat Peyronie's disease as well, which is, getting more and more prevalent out there, but primarily, for the use of erectile dysfunction. That's what low intensity shockwave therapy does, are the following. The two things is it breaks up blockages in the blood vessels of the penis, right? So we all have plaque floating around in our body, and this safely clears it out. And two, it creates a process called angiogenesis, which is the formation of new blood flow, new tissue, right? So that's just the medical term. So it's kind of like a miracle grow. It's like growing new blood vessels under the skin of the penis.
So let's talk a little bit about the problem, the actual problem of erectile dysfunction.
For sure.
And its prevalence. I think that most people don't realize how prevalent it is. And there's some people, there's a term called erectile dysfunction, and then there's also a term called erectile dissatisfaction, where you're just not as good as you used to be. Or things aren't working as smoothly as they used to be. They're a lot the erections are not as strong. They kind of lose them. You can't get them. You can't do. So so what's the prevalence of erectile dysfunction, and what kind of stories do you hear from men and women? Because the women also are concerned about that.
It affects them just as much as it does the guys. I mean, I have couples come in here all the time on a weekly basis. We have women call here saying, hey, we got to do something. It's really affecting our relationship or our marriage. And, not being intimate with my husband is causing major problems, which I certainly understand. And I actually invite, and my staff, they all know, we're very inviting. We're like, bring your wife, bring your girlfriend, bring your partner in here. Let's all sit down and talk about this. We're very open. If you saw this place, the clinic, it's not like a typical doctor's office. It's very wide open. And I mean, when guys come here with or without their partners, we make them feel very welcome. But when you talk about how prevalent it is, it's still, even in today's day and age with social media, it's still a very taboo thing. What happens is when a guy starts developing performance issues in the bedroom, we'll call it, his confidence just goes in the shitter, right? It literally tanks everything about him. Work, relationships, the way he carries himself, the way he talks, the way he makes decisions. Unfortunately, this is the way that men are wired. As you know, we are born like this. If we are not performing the way that we want to, or the way our partners expect us to, it completely destroys our confidence, right? When we're talking about the prevalence of this is going to stagger you, right? The general rule and number out there even in the urologists will tell you this is 30% of men in their 30s are dealing with some type of erectile dysfunction. 40% of men in their 40s, 50% of men in their 50s, and so on and so forth. And that is a very, very true statement. So when you're talking about the prevalence, when you talk 40, 50-year-old guys, your neighbor's dealing with it. If you're not dealing with it, your neighbor is, your brother is, your cousin is, somebody around you in your immediate circle is dealing with it, if not most of them.
And no one wants to talk about it because they're embarrassed.
Nobody wants to talk about this. There's, again, going back to the confidence thing, it's a macho thing. Like, they don't want to talk about it because they feel like less of a man, which is bullshit. So we have to start this conversation and get this out there, that this is a normal thing that men have been dealing with for millennium, right? And they're going to continue to deal with this. So in comes the solution, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it is very, very, very present. And on top of that, Oris, I will throw out there that 100% of the men that are dealing with erectile dysfunction, only 30% of those guys actually seek treatment. Let's talk about this for a minute, for a few different reasons, right? So if you line up 100 guys in a room that all are dealing with some type of erectile dysfunction, only 30% of those guys are actually going to raise their hand and say, look, I'm dealing with an issue. I got to get in front of this. I need some help, right? The other 70% are going to bury their heads in the sand and not talk about it until it just gets, it eats them up. It'll just eat them alive. So those 30% of guys, right, will actually try to seek treatment. So the guys that call here into this clinic or go online and start doing some research, they'll go on boards and they'll go on blogs and stuff like that, start looking around. There's three main reasons why guys won't seek treatment. There's one, the embarrassment factor, which I just talked about. Two is the accessibility, right? So let's talk about that. Even with today's online pharmacies, there are still a ton of guys, millions and millions of guys that don't have access to that, right? You're talking in remote countries, it's still a major issue, access, right? We'll talk about drugs in a minute. And then three is the affordability factor, right? Even if they live around a clinic like mine, and even if they have access or they can afford it, they're not going to come in because of the embarrassment factor. One of the three is gonna get them, right? So accessibility, affordability, and the embarrassment or shame factor are the three main reasons why guys will not seek treatment or can't get treatment for erectile dysfunction, right? So, and we've removed those barriers, which we'll get to in a minute, but talking about erectile dysfunction and the prevalence, it's so present. It's happening everywhere around you. Guys just don't want to talk about it. And they're secretly going onto these websites or these shady Canadian, like they're finding these drugs online that dilate the blood vessels. Let's talk about that for a minute. I won't talk about brands, but you know which they are. The little blue pill, you can talk about the generic terms, right? The tadalafils and the sildenafils. All those are Band-Aids, and you know it. Your audience knows it. They're a temporary fix that dilate the blood vessel enough to allow the blood to flow in to cause an erection. One, who wants to take a damn pill? Two, they're dangerous. And three, eventually, guess what? The pills stop working.
They stop working. And the whole thing is that you have a narrow window of opportunity on most of them. And heaven forbid that one of you falls asleep.
Right?
Well,
then there's the whole thing. Do I take it on an empty stomach? Do I eat?
Do I have that extra glass of wine?
Right.
Do I,
all
that.
The whole thing you got to think about. It's
oh my God,
planned, and that causes anxiety.
Spontaneity's gone. All that stuff is gone. And the whole thing about erectile dysfunction, about also with women, is erectile dysfunction is a factor in 20% of divorces. And it's probably,
isn't that staggering?
Yeah, it probably would be higher if you started looking at the age of divorces 40% or age 40 and higher or whatever. But the thing about affecting the woman in the relationship, because the woman wonders, am I attractive enough? Does he love me anymore? Has he substituted me with porn? Is there another woman?
Yeah.
All those things go through people's minds when they're doing that, and it really it robs you of that emotional intimacy that occurs.
That connection. Sex. You're right, and I get that every single day, and you nailed it. You said it exactly. You said it. I couldn't have said it any better. I talk to a lot of wives and girlfriends that come in here and partners, and they all say the same thing. He's not attracted to me. I don't feel loved. He doesn't love me anymore. He could be sleeping with somebody else or thinking about having sex with somebody else, or there's the porn, or again, it just goes round and round and round. And what this does is this creates, this divide in the relationship, like you said, and eventually just erodes and erodes and erodes, and it gets worse and worse, because what will happen on top of that is now the guy is feeling a ton of pressure to perform. Here comes this creepy little thing that we call performance anxiety. And when a guy's getting performance anxiety, even if he can get a great erection, guess what? Boom, it's gone, because he's so worried about performing and keeping that erection, right, to please his partner, loses it. There's not a drug in the world that can keep that.
And the deal is that you are not focused on the act of intimacy and pleasuring your partner and yourself.
You're right.
You're focusing on the whole thing of like, oh my God, am I going to go soft? Am I going to go soft? And of course you do. So, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's awful.
It's awful.
It's awful.
It's awful.
And it becomes this vicious cycle, you know? So
yeah. So let's talk about the answer, because you, my friend Dustin, I have to admit, I said this is going to be done at home sometime in the not too. I said this about a year and a half ago, and I said this technology. There's nothing so unique about it that it has to be done in a medical office.
Right.
This is going to be done at home. So, folks, this is the answer. First of all, I'm going to say is that at a fraction of the cost, and we're going to have a link below that you can get your product. But let's talk about having this, and why do they call it shock therapy? Oh my God, it sounds like you're going to electrocute you.
I know.
Why shock therapy? Why don't you just say sonic therapy or whatever?
Sonic wave. I actually I stopped referring to it as shockwave therapy a long time ago. And you know, the clinical term is low intensity shockwave therapy, but it sounds like such a negative connotation. I say sonic waves now. You know, low intensity sonic wave therapy, right? So
tell us about this how. Okay, first of all, how what is the backstory about how this was created?
Let me get to that in 1 second. I should also throw out there that we don't just treat guys here that have erectile dysfunction or Peyronie's disease. I also get the guys in here that we call the performance guys. And these are guys that are operating at a 8 or a 9 out of a 10, in the bedroom. And like you said, right, they don't have to have ED. This just makes things better. I get guys that come in here that are 30, 35 years old, 28 years old. I'm like, what are you doing here? They're like, hey, I read a lot about this. I saw it on this TV show. I heard, this podcast are talking about it. I read about it in Men's Health. And I heard it could just make things better. And it absolutely does. Sure. By, again, clearing out any little plaque they have in the blood vessels and growing new tissue, right? So you don't have to have ED or Peyronie's disease to benefit from this type of technology. If you're a 9 out of a 10 and you really love sex, there's no reason why you shouldn't do shockwave or sonic wave therapy, because it just makes things that much better, right?
Sure.
So let's talk about the history of this technology. I am definitely not claiming, nor my partners, to have invented this technology, right? But this technology has been around for 40 years, specifically for sexual performance over the last 2 decades in Europe, right? All the cool biohacking medicine and all the natural therapies come out of Asia and Europe, right? None of this stuff starts in the States. You're talking about the FDA and big pharma, and there's just too many roadblocks, right? So all the cool natural therapies start in Europe and Asia. We all know that. So doctors in Europe have been treating guys with ED and Peyronie's disease using low intensity shock therapy for 2 decades, right? Incredible. And just in the last 5 years, it's made its way over to the United States and it's starting to get really popular. But there's some roadblocks that we'll talk about in a minute. So I'm definitely not claiming to have invented this technology. I do know that it absolutely does work. And we have a 90% success rate here in the clinic. Nationwide, I think it has an average of 76 to 80% success rate. And I'll talk about that in a minute, who's a good candidate, who's not. But it's been around forever. It's very easy to administer, even for the home user. There's no downtime and there's no side effects. Why would you not want to do this, right? So it is incredible. What I am telling you we have done and absolutely validated it clinically and empirically is we have removed those 3 roadblocks, which I mentioned a few minutes ago.
Sure.
The affordability factor, we've made it affordable. And I'm going to tell you how much it costs here in my clinic in a minute. We've made this technology and this device affordable to virtually every guy on the planet. 2, we've removed the shame or embarrassment factor by allowing guys to order this anonymously and use it in the privacy of their own home, right? 3, it's accessible, going back to using this in the privacy of their own home. So we've removed the 3 main reasons why guys do not seek or get treatment all over the globe. We've solved them all. Guys, there are no excuses now, right? So if a guy comes into any clinic in the US, the average price for the main protocol that has been proven to work, and a protocol is just a series of treatments or how they're done, just instructional basically, is anywhere, most guys get anywhere from 6 to 12 shockwave treatments, right?
Sure. Yes.
That's what's been proven to work over the last 20 years. Again, nothing I invented, but 6 to 12 treatments. Here's the problem. Even if you do have the balls to come in here and do it, right? You're talking $3,000 to $6,000, right? $3,000. I don't know about you, but $3,000 is a lot of money to me, and I own this place, right? So I got sick and tired of guys calling me, and as soon as I told them what it costs, I could literally hear the wind coming out of their sails. They're like, oh, over and over and over and over, thousands of phone calls. So that's how the rocket was born. I'll talk about that again in a minute. So recapping the technology, it's been around for 4 decades, used all over the body. It's been around in Europe for 20 years, used very successfully, again, with no downtime and no side effects, because a lot of guys are like, well, do I have to stop having sex for, 6 to 12 weeks? The answer is no, absolutely not. In fact, the more sex you can have, the better, because since we're growing new tissue, new blood vessels, the more erections you have, the better, right? Because we're providing blood flow.
Absolutely, yeah.
So here we go. Technology has been proven. It's safe. It's effective. There's no downtime. And it's administered through what's called a Class 1 device here in the United States. The FDA classifies this technology as a Class 1. Why? Because it's non-invasive. So key to understand, right? This is a non-invasive technology or treatment that you can administer on yourself now. So going back about 3 years, quickly figuring out, even though we're the most successful shock therapy treatment in the United States, a clinic in the United States, still we've had thousands and thousands of guys call here or email us, asking how much it costs. As soon as we tell them, they're like, it disqualifies them. 98. Unfortunately, going into a clinic and getting this done is for the rich. It's for the elite. And I saw a huge gap in being able to help people in the marketplace. Or what about the poor guy that's struggling to put food on his table? Why does he not deserve this? How come only rich guys get to do this, right? Insurance doesn't cover this, by the way. If some of your listeners are thinking about it, insurance, and that's a decade down the road. But how come only the elite get to do this? Why can't we put this in the hands of every man in the world who wants, needs, and deserves this type of treatment, right?
Yeah,
I want to help people. I want to help people. I'm in business to make money. Don't get me wrong, but I also want to help as many guys as I possibly can. So that's when the idea was born about 3 years ago. And like you said, you saw this coming a year and a half ago. Why can't this be done in the privacy of someone's own home? It's actually pretty simple to administer. If you saw, it's like, you can go to the website. We'll talk about it in a minute. It's like, that's it.
Yeah, the video on the website is pretty easy. Yeah, your wife does
it's so easy. You guys don't understand how easy this is. It's a topical treatment. Anyway, so the concept was born. Let's talk about the backstory of the rocket. So I sat on this idea for 6 months, almost a year. And so one day this guy walks into my clinic by the name of John Hoffman. This guy I found out within 5 minutes how brilliant this guy was. He's an engineer. He's been inventing products for the last 30 years. He's very savvy with intellectual property and patents, but the guy's just a mechanical genius, right? He's like MacGyver, right? You guys all know who MacGyver is. This guy's MacGyver on steroids. I've seen him do some crazy
It shows you.
shit.
It'll show your age if you know who MacGyver is.
I just revealed how old I am. Yeah, and I'm not talking about the MacGyver that's out right now. It came out 3 years ago. I'm talking about early '80s MacGyver. So he quickly revealed to me just how brilliant he was. And I was like, wow, I got to tell this guy about my idea, right? And so I sat him down. I said, I want to run this thing by you. I said, I'm treating you as a friend now. I hold this idea very near and dear to my heart because there's such a big opportunity to help so many people. And within 5 minutes of the conversation, he goes, I can do that. I can build one of those. And I go, yeah, right. A lot of people say a lot of things, right? Ernest, you know that, right?
Sure,
so, I'm not kidding you. 3 weeks to the day. He goes, I'll be back in 3 weeks. 3 weeks to the day. I get a knock on my door, and my front office staff, they're like, John's here to see you. I said, okay, bring him in. He brings this contraption in. We still laugh to this day. This was 2 years ago. We call it Frankenstein, right? Puts this big, heavy, this thing looks like, it looked like a monster that came out of the junkyard, right? Just like it had springs and it had wires coming out all over. It probably weighed 30 pounds. And he sets it on the desk, it goes clunk. And he goes, I know what you're thinking. Don't pay any attention to how this thing looks. Just turn it on, right? So I turn it on, and it was like Mozart, right? It was putting out the exact same sound that these expensive devices do, that are used in these clinics all over the world every single day to treat ED. And I said, okay, all right, that's cool. So I said, let me have it. So I put it up against my hand, my forearm, my leg. And I'm like, oh my God, it feels exactly like these devices that I use. Cause I know I use them every single day. And he goes, all right, that was the day the rocket was born. And here we are 2 years later, 9 prototypes in, and in production of a device and a technology that's going to change the world. Again, making it affordable and accessible, removing the embarrassment factor is exactly what the rocket does. We've gone through clinical trials here, not large scale, I'll tell you, but can you imagine how many hundreds, if not thousands of patients I went to, and I said, hey, guess what? I have some really good news for you. I know you can't afford this treatment. How would you like to participate in a free clinical study? The only thing I ask is that you show up and you follow instructions, and you let us, give you a questionnaire every week when you come in. Are you kidding me? Guess how many said yes? All of them.
There's a line
out
the door.
No one said no. Not one guy. Because our sex lives are important to us, right?
Yeah.
So they're getting free treatment. And I'm not kidding you. We went through 6, 12, 16-week cycles of patients coming in doing clinical trials, and us using various versions of the rocket. The technology is developed over 2 years, and we've tweaked it, fine-tuned it, made it better. And here we are now with a product that puts out the exact same energy signature. If you go to the website, you'll see it. I mean, the identical energy signature of these expensive devices, that you have to have a medical license to buy.
Sure. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. So, tell me let's talk a little bit about the rocket and its use. And
sure.
So typically, how often does someone use it? And how is the machine set up? I mean, can you overuse it?
Great question.
And how long does the rocket last?
Great. Okay, so those are 3 topics that we should hit on, right? How often is it safe, right? And how long does it last? So let's cover those. We've built in the protocols to be pretty much identical to what we know works, right? I don't want to experiment with new protocols. I know what works. We know what works. And we've developed these protocols that are used in Novus and I've helped other doctors and clinics and other big brands, which I won't mention here. I've helped develop myself and my staff, along with my wife, Stephanie, have helped develop their protocols. We took these protocols from Europe that have been used for 20 years, and we just made them better. So the rocket will be used 1 to 2 times a week for anywhere from 6 to 12 treatments initially, and then as needed or maintenance thereafter, right? So if a guy wanted to go through 6 to 12 treatments over the course of 3 to 6 weeks, go for it. It's perfectly safe, and I'll get to that in a minute, right? On top of that, if you wanted to use the rocket once a month after that, you can use the rocket once a month after that, or once a quarter, or twice a year. That's what I tell our patients, right? I tell them, if you want to come in here once a month and get a little tune-up, or once a quarter and get a little tune-up, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. And all it's going to do is keep the plaque down, right? And it's going to help stimulate new blood flow, new tissue. I'm going to pause on that for a minute. I'm going to just kind of put this into sort of layman terms, the way I understood it and the way it was explained to me years ago. Okay. Your body produces plaque. I don't care how clean you eat, how much you exercise, how much you brush your teeth, your body produces plaque. Environment, sleep, food, right? Stress.
All that
That's
stuff.
why even amazing, incredible athletes have to go to the dentist twice a year to get their teeth cleaned, right? We all should be doing it. Guys out there, if you're not going to the dentist, go to the dentist, right? You all have to go to the dentist to get
chronic
your teeth.
Inflammation.
Right, exactly. But there's something more important I want to talk about. I mean, chronic inflammation will eventually kill you, so that's pretty important. But in short term, we all go to the dentist because it's not just because we're told to, it's because we should. And we want to keep our teeth. If you don't go to the dentist, you'll lose your teeth eventually. We all know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the dentist has to go in there and get in there in the back of your teeth, and it sucks. We all do it. Scrape the plaque off the back of your teeth, polish them up. Why do we do that? Because, honest, we like to eat food, right? It's not that it's aesthetic. We like to eat food, right? You want to chew on your steak, you want to bite in your apple. I don't give a shit what it is, right? Well, why should guys take care of their junk? Because we like to have sex. This is no different. This is men's health, just like dental health, right? Plaque will build up in the blood vessels of your penis. Get it cleaned out, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about the protocol, 6 to 12 treatments, and then maintenance after that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to answer your second question. Is it safe? It absolutely is. In fact, it's more safe than the devices here in my clinic. You know why? If I wanted to use the device here in my clinic all day, every day on myself, I actually could, right? I know better, but we all know that there's idiots out there that are going to overuse anything because they think that more is better no matter how much you tell them. So guess what myself and my partners did? And this one I'll give to John for sure. And my wife, Stephanie. This wasn't my idea. They built in safety protocols, safety features, right? So this is by the way, all this technology is covered by 3 global patents, pending patents, right? So we got to protect our intellectual property. But what we've done is we've built in a safety mechanism into the electronics of the device that after each treatment, the device will shut down and not turn back on for 3 days, right? Mm-hmm. So you physically cannot overuse it. Could some crazy or hacker get in and do some Mr. Robot shit and trick the device into running all day, every day? Sure. But I mean, come on. Like, you can't cover, you know what I mean? You can't cover everybody. But the reality is safety. No, you can't. Safety is our number one concern because we know there's guys out there that are going to try to overuse it, right? So it's cover the protocols. B, it's very safe to use. And if you go on the website, which we'll talk about in a minute, there's some demo videos on there. I'll call them demo videos. We don't show any penis, guys. There's some eggplants and some bananas and stuff, which are pretty funny. We go on, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's an actual LED light user guide on the device that tells you how fast you should be moving the device, where you should be moving it, and when, right? So we covered safety. Third question.
The video is actually great.
How long will it last, right?
Yeah, the video is actually really great.
Right?
I mean, you should be able to follow it along pretty. Anyone will be able to follow it along.
Are you talking about the animated one where we have the arrows?
Well, I saw the arrows. Actually, I think it was the one that Stephanie did that showed how to do it on, or was it you? I can't remember now. On the banana, and then
now Stephanie.
Okay, yeah.
So. So there's plenty of user guides on there. Plus we have, support here, phone numbers and email. We're here to help, but we're big on the user guide.
And guys, just one thing: do not FaceTime them on this when you call support. Okay,
I don't need to see your junk.
Don't FaceTime them. That's just
Imagine how my mom and dad feel. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad, I made it. I'm in the penis business. God, they laugh every time I talk about it. But so listen, every waking moment of my day is about penis. So I need a break, guys. Do not FaceTime me with your junk out. So I'm happy to talk to you on the phone, and my staff is as well. So the third question you asked, which is very important, is, and I've gotten this a lot, even from my own patients. In fact, a ton of our patients have bought the rocket just to use as maintenance in between coming in here, right? Is how long will the rocket last? Okay. So usually where that question starts is, okay, well, if the technology and the output and the energy signature is exactly the same, what's the difference, right? The difference is this: these high-end, super, super high-end quality machines were built by big engineering firms and designed to last forever. They break down, right? And they do break down, but they're very expensive to maintain. I know. I mean, I'm talking when they break down, it's thousands and thousands of dollars to fix. And I have 3 machines in 3 rooms going all day long. So you can imagine what my maintenance cost is on this, every quarter. So the main difference between these two devices is our device isn't going to last 30 years. It's not going to last 5 years. What we're saying and what we're guaranteeing is that this device will be extremely safe and effective for up to 24 treatments, maybe much longer than that, but we're guaranteeing 24 treatments. If you extrapolate that into what that would cost you to come into my clinic or any other clinic around the country to do this, we're talking $12,000. We're guaranteeing you a $12,000 treatment cycle for a pre-order price of $399, which is going away in the next 60 days, maybe less, because we're about full on pre-order.
So folks, if you are watching this, get on board soon, because this is a pre-production price, which once and it's a limited time offer, and don't like, it's not like a bullshit thing like it's limited, because it's not like a digital product where you can make infinite. There's a limited number of them you're going to make pre-production, and I would suggest use the link below and get on and order and get your pre-production price. Otherwise, actually, first of all, two things I'm going to mention. One, actually, the full price, is a steal. And you guys got to pay
$749. It's a steal.
Yeah, and you guys got a payment system too.
And we have a payment system. So I've been in this online industry for a long time, and I used to consult guys like me, and I'd go to them and I'd say, okay, you have this amazing product or service, however, the pricing could be an issue. Let me help you. Right. And one of the biggest things I would do, and you see this on late night TV and these a lot of infomercials, well, they'll offer payment plans or payment programs, right? So what we've done is, if you don't want to go pick up the pre-order price of $399 and you want to wait, it's, why would you not want to save money? But the full price is going to be $749, but we have installment plans, and the main one is 3 installments, right? So we have a 3 installment plan. I think it's $149 right now per month, which makes it, I mean, guys, come on. You're talking about 2 dinners a month, or there's so many things you could cut out and in order to make room for this rocket.
Stop getting those Starbucks coffee.
Yeah, come on, your Starbucks, like whatever it is, skip the movies next weekend or whatever, but do yourself a favor, treat yourself to the rocket at a pre-order value of $399, because the price is just going to go up. We're actually getting ready to cap out probably in the next under 60 days. I watch the volume every day. My manufacturer's like, you gotta stop. So we're getting super close. But yeah, we're very, very excited about this. We've been on press tours all over the country. We were just interviewed by Forbes magazine, which is very exciting. We were on the Daily Mail. We're lining up talk shows with Dr. Oz and Howard Stern, and a lot of these other massive platforms to get the word out there, because this is very real. You knew it was coming a year and a half ago. And we've been hard at work developing this technology. And guys, like, I didn't have, some huge, blue chip investor behind us. Like, I bootstrapped this with my wife, Stephanie, and my partner, John. That's how much we believe in this. And we sunk our own money into this. We didn't borrow money. And that's why it actually has taken 2 years to get out there, and we're talking a 7-figure investment for us to be able to take this out to the world. And I'm very proud of it. And I know it works because I've seen it work.
Oh, well, Dustin, this is a great opportunity for people to deal with erectile dysfunction in a affordable way, in a private way, and in an effective way, and to do all of that in the comfort of their home at a fraction of the cost. So it's a great service, and I'm glad that we got you on here to talk about it. And we'll have to have you on and talk about some other stuff in the future, about some other things that you guys.
Yeah, we got lots in common.
Yeah,
for
all
sure.
Right.
So I really appreciate the opportunity. Yeah. So, you guys go to the link below. If you're watching this video, go check out the site. It's very real. If you have any questions, you can always email support@GetMyRocket. But yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to help get the word out there.
All right. This is Ors, the old guy from www.oldguytalks.com. Remember, it's all about creating kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Old Guy Talks is all about creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Opt in now.